a WikiVidi documentaries production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. Anita Hill. Anita Faye Hill is an American attorney and academic. She is the university professor of social policy, law, and women's studies at Brandeis University and a faculty member of Brandeis Heller School for Social Policy and Management. She became a national figure in 1991 when she accused U.S. Supreme Court nominee Clarence Thomas, her supervisor at the United States Department of Education and the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, of sexual harassment. Early life. Anita Hill was born to a family of farmers in Lone Tree, Oklahoma, the youngest of Albert and Irma Hill's 13 children. Her family came from Arkansas, where her maternal grandfather, Henry Elliott, and all of her great-grandparents had been born into slavery. Hill was raised in the Baptist faith. After graduating as valedictorian from Morris High School, Oklahoma, she enrolled at Oklahoma State University and received a bachelor's degree in psychology with honors in 1977. She went on to Yale Law School, obtaining her Juris Doctor degree with honors in 1980. She was admitted to the District of Columbia Bar in 1980 and began her law career as an associate with the Washington, D.C. firm of Wold, Harkrada, and Dross. In 1981, she became an attorney advisor to Clarence Thomas, who was then the Assistant Secretary of the U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights. When Thomas became chairman of the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission in 1982, Hill went along to serve as his assistant, leaving the job in 1983. Hill then became an assistant professor at the Evangelical Christian O.W. Coburn School of Law at Oral Roberts University, where she taught from 1983 to 1986. In 1986, she joined the faculty at the University of Oklahoma College of Law, where she taught commercial law and contracts. Effects. Shortly after the Thomas confirmation hearings, President George H.W. Bush dropped his opposition to a bill that gave harassment victims the right to seek federal damage awards, back pay, and reinstatement. And the law was passed by Congress. 1 year later, harassment complaints filed with the EEOC were up 50% and public opinion had shifted in Hill's favor. Private companies also started training programs to deter sexual harassment. When journalist Cindy Kennard asked Hill in 1991 if she would testify against Thomas all over again, Hill answered, "I'm not sure if I could have lived with myself if I had answered those questions any differently." The manner in which the Senate Judiciary Committee challenged and dismissed Hill's accusations of sexual harassment angered female politicians and lawyers, according to D.C. Congressional Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton. Hill's treatment by the panel was a contributing factor to the large number of women elected to Congress in 1992. Women clearly went to the polls with the notion in mind that you had to have more women in Congress. She said, "In their anthology, all the women are white, all the blacks are men, but some of us are brave." Editors Gloria T. Hull, Patricia Bell Scott, and Barbara Smith described black feminists mobilizing a remarkable national response to the Anita Hill-Clarence Thomas controversy. In 1992, a feminist group began a nationwide fundraising campaign and then obtained matching state funds to endow a professorship at the University of Oklahoma College of Law in honor of Hill. Conservative Oklahoma state legislators reacted by demanding Hill's resignation from the university, then introducing a bill to prohibit the university from accepting donations from out-of-state residents, and finally attempting to pass legislation to close down the law school. Elmer Zinmillion, a local activist, compared Hill to Lee Harvey Oswald, the assassin of President Kennedy. Certain officials at the university attempted to revoke Hill's tenure. After 5 years of pressure, Hill resigned. The University of Oklahoma Law School defunded the Anita F. Hill Professorship in May 1999, without the position having ever been filled. Later career. Hill continued to teach at the University of Oklahoma, though she spent 2 years as a visiting professor in California. She resigned her post in October 1996 and finished her final semester of teaching there. In her final semester, she taught a law school seminar on civil rights. An endowed chair was created in her name, but was later defunded without ever having been filled. Hill accepted a position as a visiting scholar at the Institute for the Study of Social Change at University of California, Berkeley in January 1997. But soon joined the faculty of Brandeis University, first at the Women's Studies program, later moving to the Heller School for Social Policy and Management. In 2011, she also took a counsel position with the Civil Rights and Employment Practice Group of the plaintiffs' law firm Cohen Milstein Sellers and Toll. Over the years, Hill has provided commentary on gender and race issues on national television programs, including 60 Minutes, Face the Nation, and Meet the Press. She has been a speaker on the topic of commercial law as well as race and women's rights. She is also the author of articles that have been published in the New York Times and Newsweek and has contributed to many scholarly and legal publications in the areas of international commercial law, bankruptcy, and civil rights. In 1995, Hill co-edited Race, Gender and Power in America, The Legacy of the Hill-Thomas Hearings with Emma Coleman Jordan. In 1997, Hill published her autobiography, Speaking Truth to Power, in which she chronicled her role in the Clarence Thomas confirmation controversy and wrote that creating a better society had been a motivating force in her life. She contributed the piece, The Nature of the Beast, Sexual Harassment, to the 2003 anthology Sisterhood is Forever, the women's anthology for a new millennium, edited by Robin Morgan. In 2011, Hill published her second book, Reimagining Equality, Stories of Gender, Race, and Finding Home, which focuses on the subprime lending crisis that resulted in the foreclosure of many homes owned by African Americans. She calls for a new understanding about the importance of a home and its place in the American dream. On March 26, 2015, the Brandeis Board of Trustees unanimously voted to recognize Hill with a promotion to Private University Professor of Social Policy, Law, and Women's Studies. On December 16, 2017, the Commission on Sexual Harassment and Advancing Equality in the Workplace was formed, selecting Hill to lead its charge against sexual harassment in the entertainment industry. The new initiative was spearheaded by co-chair of the Nike Foundation Maria Eitel, venture capitalist Frida Kapor-Klein, Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy and talent attorney Nina Shaw. In September 2018, Hill wrote an op-ed in the New York Times regarding sexual assault allegations made by Christine Blasey Ford during the Brett Kavanaugh Supreme Court nomination. Written works. On October 20, 1998, Anita Hill published the book Speaking Truth to Power. Throughout much of the book she gives details on her side of the sexual harassment controversy and her professional relationship with Clarence Thomas. Aside from that, she also provides a glimpse of what her personal life was like all the way from her childhood days growing up in Oklahoma to her position as a law professor. In 2011, Hill's second book, Reimagining Equality, Stories of Gender, Race, and Finding Home was published. She discusses the relationship between the home and the American dream. She also exposes the inequalities within gender and race and home ownership. She argues that inclusive democracy is more important than debates about legal rights. She uses her own history and history of other African American women such as Nannie Helen Burroughs in order to strengthen her argument for reimagining equality altogether. In 1994, she wrote a tribute to Thurgood Marshall, the first African American Supreme Court justice who preceded Clarence Thomas. Titled A Tribute to Thurgood Marshall, a man who broke with tradition on issues of race and gender. She notes Thurgood's contributions to the principles of equality as a judge, and how his work has affected the lives of African Americans, specifically African American women. Anita Hill became a proponent for women's rights and feminism. This can be seen through the chapter she wrote in the book Women and Leadership: The State of Play and Strategies for Change. She wrote about women judges and why, in her opinion, they play such a large role in balancing the judicial system. She argues that since women and men have different life experiences, ways of thinking, and histories, both are needed for a balanced court system. She writes that in order for the best law system to be created in the United States, all people need the ability to be represented. Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Would you like to know more?